Go on with it. Go on with it. Course. Yeah. Yeah. So we are going to give it, of course. Hello, hello. People we question on. Oh, in our eyes, I'm lost. Yeah, we songs that we needed the most. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. Blessings are coming like but thank God for the journey, the earnings, not just for the plus. Feel free to move your shoulders. This is a really good song by Coffee called Toast. Love, love the music. Please introduce yourselves. Maybe name, company. We'll get started in a few minutes. Keep it burning, yes, that's the motto. If me the butter pass through your soul to be a ball in a life, man. Me have to thank God for the journey, the earnings are just for the plus. Yeah. And gratitude is a must. Yeah, we see blessings fall by my right hand. But I toast to the friends we take off the load. One time they sit down in a class and more than all is said. Please introduce yourselves in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Britt. On team in Portland. Michael, Kathy, Sydney, and the Hoka team. Jeff from New Balance. Hi. San Antonio, Texas. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. Yes, I can drop the song. Allow more folks to come in, introduce themselves in the chat. Hey, Jamie, New Balance. Hello, hello. Ben. All right, so that was Toast by Coffee, an incredible artist. If you are new to Coffee, definitely look them up. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Kiara Smalls, she, her pronouns, and I am the executive director of the Running Industry Diversity Coalition, RIDC for short. So today, our workshop, our first workshop of the year, is a welcome to the RIDC, a reintroduction and a recommitment. One of the big reasons that the RIDC exists is because of a young man named Ahmaud Arbery. And February 22, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery was on a run and he was followed and he was murdered because of the color of his skin. And this Thursday marks the anniversary of the day that his life was taken away from him. And so this was an important week for us to host this reintroduction and recommitment to the RIDC. And so next we'll get into what is the RIDC and why does it exist for the running industry. I'll pass it to Abigail. I don't think we hear the sound.
I need to be part of
Can you
it.
hear?
Uncomfortable. It's hard to be uncertain. It's
We can
hard,
hear it now.
feel like I don't know the right thing to do. Especially, I think white men want to solve problems, you know, and it's like, I can't solve this. I need to be part of it, but I'm not the solver. I still remember reading articles about Ahmaud Arbery's murder, but it was reading a article that was written by a local coach, a black man in Kalamazoo, Michigan, that said, I can never run again. That was the, I read that article over and over again. As someone that I respect and someone that is important to this community, Kalamazoo. And for him to say he'll never run again was like a stab in my heart.
My name is Allison Mariella Jazier. I'm a mother, an activist, co-chair of the Running Industry Diversity Coalition, a runner and a community builder.
My name is Chris Lampin Kroll. I'm the co-owner and founder of Gazelle Sports, and I'm the co-chair of Running Industry Diversity Coalition. Allison,
Hey, Chris.
happy Thursday. Is it Thursday still? I don't know. So building the relationships for the RIDC during the pandemic has been primarily through Zoom and phone calls.
That first meeting was very much a microcosm of what was going on in the country and in the world in many ways. One, that white people were awakened suddenly, right? And Black people and people of color are like, we've been living this our whole life. The other piece was that white people were coming to us and asking us to be vulnerable and us to share and engage and do this work, not recognizing that the work was theirs to do. I was trying to have conversations around white supremacy and racial justice, and the words to them landed as if I was accusing them of being like KKK members.
It was fairly tense because it was people that wanted to create change but didn't have the same language.
And after that first meeting, I was like, listen, if I never hear from them again, like, what do I care? Thankfully, I think it was Chris. I actually don't know what kind of conversation the white people had, but we all got on another call and we showed up knowing this was going to be tough. And I think the same thing with running, like showing up for the first time is hard. But showing up the second time is even more difficult because your butt got kicked the first time. I guess the second call was really about meeting each other where we were at and realizing that this discomfort was in service of something bigger than ourselves.
Allison has become an amazing part of my life. We're in it together, and sometimes there's the fracturing of the trust between each other.
Oh. I did not have older white male friends or older white male people in my orbit, right? So I was like, I didn't think that a friendship could develop from them.
There's apologies, there's sometimes tears, there's sometimes laughter, and there's sometimes like, yeah, just get over it.
But it's all of those things at once, and there's a lot of love there. This idea of the RIDC is creating spaces where historically excluded people who don't see themselves feel like they can show up and be seen and advocate for that space, because that's how we get to the ultimate goal of people feeling a sense of belonging.
This is a bigger issue than any one organization can handle. So Hoka and Brooks were our first two funders that helped us get our feet on the ground and moving.
There's a board of 7 of us. we were really intentional about its racial composition, its gender composition. We're people of all different socioeconomic backgrounds. And this is something that we know is our strength. This difference is our strength. That's something that is written into the bylaws, and the work that we've done is to make sure that this continues into the future. Always in favor of more power being in the hands of those who are most marginalized.
In this industry and almost every industry, white men do have the power and do have the control. We have to make the change. We have to accept our role in shifting power. We have to accept the role of being humble and have the ability to say, I understand white privilege, I understand white bias, I understand white supremacy. All of those things are hard. But I'm not without hope, because I know there is a huge population of Black and brown and indigenous, highly diverse, wonderful group of people that will change this industry.
It might sound counterintuitive, but I hope that the RDC doesn't get so caught up in action or proving that we're doing something that we forget that change takes time. The truth is, like, racism and white supremacy is the only thing this country knows. So we're not going to undo it in our 5-year strategic plan. So my biggest hope is that we can bring as many people along in this so that the burden doesn't fall on me, right? That white folks know that this is their responsibility, whether I'm in the room or not, and that they're fighting just as hard as I would be fighting for racial justice.
It's hard.
Let's see if it'll let me go to the next slide. There we go.
Thank you for that introduction. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sergio Avila. I am a board member of the RIDC. I would like to share with you, after that video and the origin story of this coalition, the mission of the organization. The Running Industry Diversity Coalition unites the running industry to provide resources, measure progress, and hold the industry accountable to equitable employment, leadership, and ownership positions, and improve inclusion, visibility, and access for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Our vision is that of a running industry committed to racial justice, where Black, Indigenous, and people of color are welcomed, valued, and amplified. And we are grounded by values such as love of running. We are united by a passion and commitment to running and its ability to bring people together and serve as a tool for healing. Anti-racism. We will address, call in, and interrupt systems of oppression and marginalization tied to white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and racism that manifest in the running industry. Power shifting. We center, listen to, and learn from voices that have been historically left out of conversations to create space for new leaders and shift the way decisions are made in the running industry. Learning and self-reflection. We promote open, honest, and difficult conversations that meet people where they are in their learning journey. We welcome the willing, create multiple points of entry, and provide adaptive support to make progress. Transparency. We can only address what we know, so we encourage information sharing, openness in communication and decision-making, and the collection of data to measure progress. And action. Progress is made when we acknowledge harms, commit to act when we see injustice, implement ideas for improving equity, and put into practice what we learn from new perspectives. After sharing our values, mission, and vision, we would like to ask our participants, which of the RIDC's values resonates with you the most. You have the values in the bottom of this slide, and we would love to give you 3 minutes to reflect, to write down, to journal, to think, to meditate, to write in the chat which of those values resonates with you the most. And remember that these 3 minutes is just because of this meeting, but you have every day, every night to think about these values. Make them a conversation with your family, with your co-workers, with your club. Share these values and learn from others how they uphold them. Thank you for participating on this. Anyone that would like to share on the chat a few of their thoughts, you are welcome to do it. I see action. Thank you, Lionel. They're coming in. Thank you all. Love seeing a lot of people, anti-racism, love of running, and action. This is a little puzzle that does not have a specific starting point. You can all start at your own pace, and little by little, you will be making your lungs a little bit your runs a little bit longer, and will engage in these values more and more. We want to instill curiosity in all of you. We want you to reflect. So keep having these conversations, keep making space for everybody to have these conversations and reflections, and come back to RIDC to continue these conversations too. Very thankful for all of your participation. Thanks to all here present.
Very alarming sound.
Hi, I'm Chris Lampin-Kroll, the co-founder, co-owner of Gazelle Sports and the co-chair of the Running Industry Diversity Coalition, as you saw on the video. And I just want to say this week, and maybe always, for me, it's learning and self-reflection where I start in this work, because the amount of learning that I've done and going inside is definitely an important critical piece of moving towards action, moving into anti-racism. And I just want to thank Sergio for sharing not just the words of our values, but the meaning behind them, because those are powerful statements. Thank you, Sergio. And I do want to just say too that I'm really grateful to be here with such an incredible group of people that are on this call that want to move into action. So thank you for being on this call. We have a dream team staff that has come on board in the last year. So a year ago, we were just finalizing interviews. And in March, we hired the most amazing executive director, Kiera Smalls. And we are just so pleased and happy that she has really taken this RIDC and moved it forward in such a meaningful way. She was then able to really develop really important jobs that would help us deepen and solidify and stabilize this organization besides the board doing work itself. So she was joined by Abigail Sharpless, who's our program manager, who's just done a phenomenal job and works amazing. Just everything I see from her is just, it inspires me. And Betsy Rathwell, who is our operations coordinator, who keeps it all together for us and just makes sure that our operations are tight and going, again, stabilizing this organization. So we really have a dream team there. What I want to say about the board of directors is that you don't see some of those originals that were here, the 7 of us. We've actually transitioned to a new board, and that is very significant. We are, again, being stable and moving forward. The new board is amazing. Shannon Woods is our co-chair. John Benedict is part of that original team, still here. Sergio, who you just met, part of the team. Song is amazing. Kathy, many of you know from Retail and Empower. Tom Carlio and Jason Faustino make up this incredible board. So we are thrilled to have a great board that really leans into this work. One of the main things that we've done in our strategic plan, one of the most important things is really we've developed our research. We've hired Bentley University to really focus on where we are, and we have some major long-term goals around ownership, around employment, around leadership, around the culture of running and the inclusion. And so we had to know, where are we starting? So with the support of New Balance, we started with looking at the current state of diversity with regard to road running participation and employment. And then we were able to add this research due to support from Ultra and Brooks and On, Patagonia, Salomon, Saucony, Smartwool, and Strava to compare the access, inclusion, and belonging in trail running and road running and unmet product needs there. And so we are going to be able to present this very soon in this first quarter with all of our members and the public. And we're so excited that this research, pioneering research, has been done and will continue to be done.
So now we want to transition into some key terminology and a basic understanding of this language we will use. Now, I'll preface this by this is not going to be a full training. We will go deeper into each one of these terms in our upcoming programming, in our educational resources, in the content that we create. All of that will continue to circle back to some of this language, but we want to at least give you a foundational or a basic understanding so that you can feel empowered to engage with our work. And if there's something you want to learn more about, use this as an opportunity to reflect, maybe write that down. So as we have programs that come up, you can decide what's most relevant for you to engage with. I'll start out with DEI. We've probably heard the phrase before. So I want to break that down a bit. Diversity is embracing all aspects of human difference. With the RIDC, we do prioritize racial diversity in our mission. We talk about racial diversity being that term that you see at the bottom, BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color, otherwise known as the minorities in America. So when we talk about racial diversity, we want to let you know we're not just talking about diversity under that one identifier. There are all other elements like socioeconomic level, gender, culture, all of these other things that play into the diversity within the BIPOC community. So we do not limit ourselves to just talking about diversity when it comes to race, but because we see a greater need to amplify that community, we do start there. Then I'll talk about equity. Equity is a popular one. You've probably seen that photo where it's, 3 people standing on different boxes, but they're all looking over the same one fence. So that's usually used to describe equity versus equality. I will summarize equity as essentially creating opportunity based on need, relevant to need. So if there's a greater need for something, we create more opportunity for it. I'll use the example of the RIDC. We have a workshop actually coming up in March, and we as the RIDC, we recognize that the running industry has a greater need for BIPOC women in general. We need more BIPOC women running. We need more BIPOC women employed, and especially in leadership positions, we need more BIPOC women. So because we see a greater need, we wanted to create some opportunity for BIPOC women to learn about career opportunities in the industry or tips and tools to advance their career in this industry. So we directly responded to the need with opportunity. That's the gist of it. Now, inclusion is everybody is invited. That's our all feel welcome goal. People tend to get stuck on the everybody's invited. And they think they're being inclusive because, hey, I've invited everyone. No one is not welcome to my space. But just because you invite everyone, it doesn't mean everyone feels safe and welcome there. An example, you could say your office. You could say, hey, at any time, anybody is invited to stop by my office. You're all invited to come by. But if you put 6 flights of stairs outside of your office door, then you're essentially telling anyone who cannot make it up those stairs and you don't provide an elevator that they're not actually welcome. So if the space doesn't reflect everyone, if it doesn't represent everyone, it's not genuinely inclusive. For unconscious bias or implicit bias, they're the same thing. I'll give you a cheat code right there. You can use that phrase interchangeably. Unconscious bias, I think, is best described with an activity. So I'm actually going to ask you all to do something, and my team didn't fully expect me to do this, but I want you to close your eyes. I know we're on Zoom. Nobody's going to screenshot you, I promise. So just close your eyes about 10 seconds, okay? And I want you to come up with a visual, an actual image in your mind. You don't have to share it, so be honest in this visual. When I say the word runner, I want you to think of someone, a person. What does this person look like? What are they wearing? What color are they? What's their body type? How often do you think they run? Where are they running? Okay, get a strong visual in your mind. Again, you don't have to share this. Now open your eyes. Thank you for participating. I know it's a trust activity to close your eyes with everybody here, could just stare at you, but I wanted to do that because that image you came up with, of course, it can't reflect every single person on this call, though everyone on this call may identify themselves as a runner. Essentially, that label that you created is something that is based off of assumptions. Those assumptions are your unconscious biases. These assumptions that you have to quickly categorize people and to tell you how you may or may not interact with them. The issue with unconscious bias is not necessarily having them. It's instinctual. You are going to have biases that are just going to happen based off of what you've seen or where you've grown up or the content that you receive. The issue is that they are limiting. And they're often not factual. They don't represent everybody who could fit under a title or a group. So when it comes to unconscious biases, the RIDC would like to challenge you to be transparent, which is one of our values, to be honest about them. Call them to the front of your mind. The best way to remove their power is to make them conscious. And so the more we can acknowledge them, the better we can stop them from limiting ourselves when we meet people or how we treat people. And we already covered BIPOC, so that's again, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We use that phrase a lot.
So 3 important words or important statements that you heard in the video, and we continue to bring up with the RIDC. Systemic racism. Systemic racism comes across so frequently as you're calling me a racist. And that is not what systemic racism is. It's different than prejudice. Systemic racism is actually oppression by a ruling class, and it shows up in so many ways that you may not even be aware of in your business. For a retailer like me, it may be the location, decisions on the locations where I put a store. That is a system that has been maybe built into the redlining that happened and continues to be resulting in this country. Where events are running, what are the routes that events run? That again can be because of redlining. It can become a safety issue that you think of neighborhoods that has come about because of systemic racism. It may be a hiring decision you make. Who are you hiring? That actually, you don't think you've created a system, but you're hiring people that maybe you run with. I know I did as I started Gazelle Sports. That was the group of people I ran with. I hired them. They tended to look like me. Almost all of them look like me. So there is systemic racism in our businesses that we don't always see, but we have to call them out, and we have to be willing to change them, and we have to be willing to lean in and do the work and take action.
Yeah,
I'm going to pass it back to Abigail on this.
sure. I'll add to that. Essentially, what Chris is talking about is the looking at and analyzing our policies and our procedures, the way we do what we do. And a lot of times we get held up because we don't think intentionally we're being racist in the way we're doing or the way we've structured something within our organizations or our decision making. So I'll challenge you to look at it as the output of a system tells you more about the system itself. So if the output of a system, let's say your hiring system, if it constantly results in the same type of person, the same look or age or racial identity of a person being hired, then that tells you the system itself is catering towards that individual. And the same continues in other structures. If you have a race or an event you're putting on, if the same people are showing up, there is something in the system of how you marketed or how you set up this event that only targets that group. So once you take an evaluation of that, I think that can help you debunk some of the things that seem like, oh, it's just the way we do what we do, and actually make you question it.
Thank you. So white supremacy. So white supremacy is really about the power structure in this country, in the world, in our businesses, in the running industry. There's white supremacy because the decision makers, the people with budgets, the ownership of this industry and our businesses, it's primarily white, and making decisions from that lens of white supremacy. That is because we have the power. A person like me, a 63-year-old white man, has been in this industry for 38 years, and looking at this industry looks more like me. And these decisions that we make, maybe in a sense, are saying, hey, I'm all about inclusion. I'm all about this. However, it comes from a place of power, and we cannot change that until this concept of power shifting, inclusion, bringing people around the table with different voices, and not just bringing them around the table, but actually providing them opportunities to lead, to grow, to have budgets, to own these companies that we're involved with, or other companies, as we lift the running industry into a new place, really has to be for everybody. This is everybody's work, and white supremacy is something that overlays all of this, that we have to recognize and then work hard against. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Abigail. I'm not the educator. I'm just telling you from my perspective of what happens at Gazelle Sports and in the running industry.
Yeah, I wouldn't label any of us definitely as the educators, something we are continually learning. We learn as society grows and changes. So that was a great call out. When it comes to white supremacy, it's so often related to systemic racism. Because if you look back to that question I asked of the output of your system, right? Look at who typically gets hired or who typically shows up. If the answer is someone who is white, usually that shows you that white supremacy has ingrained itself into the system because it prioritizes white people. The term white supremacy shakes people because they think, well, I don't believe white people are better or more deserving. But then when you look at who typically holds privilege or power, and if it's all white faces and you don't take issue with that, it doesn't create any discomfort or questioning for you. Let that be a reflection. Why are you okay with that? Why does that seem natural? Because there's a system of white supremacy that has ingrained this belief that it is okay for this one group to hold that privilege, to hold that voice. So that's what we want to call into attention, and we want to disrupt as the RIDC.
And racial justice. So I think, again, going back to the video, you heard these words: systemic racism, white supremacy, racial justice. I want to just call out that this is work, as Allison said, that has been going on for a long time. It did not start in 2020 with the launch of the RIDC. This is work that many, many people have been doing, particularly people of color. And it is time to open the door to all of this in the running industry. We've been working on it for 2 years, but the work has really just begun. And racial justice is the work. Racial justice is saying that we are going to do the work. We're going to stand in this discomfort. We're going to stand in this tension, and we're going to act. So it's taking these concepts, and not concepts, these realities, and moving into action of sharing power, of creating a new way to bring people of color into running safely, help them belong, but also bring them into ownership, into leadership, into the whole system of the running industry. Because I believe still that this can be a model industry, but we are far from that place right now. So as people, as systems, as industries, we can change through racial justice. And that's what the work we have to do.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to Ahmaud Arbery. When we talk about racial justice and we wonder why is this relevant to us as an industry, why is it so important for us to do this work? Well, if we look at Ahmaud Arbery and his life, let's say the industry did everything right to empower him to run prior to that moment. Let's say we got him all the right gear, we got him the right shoes, we got him the right environment, we moved all environmental factors that could keep him from running. We even helped him run for the right reasons, or whatever you want to call it. We could do all of that work, but at the end of the day, if a justice and an injustice happens to him based on his race alone, we haven't empowered him to continue to run. We haven't even empowered him to continue to live. So how much is our work worth when it comes to DEI and all that we're doing, if at the end of the day, we don't protect these individuals? They don't feel safe. So we have to engage with racial justice to make anything else that we're doing of value or worthwhile. Otherwise, it's nullified. So we have another question here. Same thing goes here. You'll have 3 minutes. We want you to share in the chat. You can also respond to other people in the chat if there's something that you are drawn to. And to take this home with you, you can write this question down. But which key term has helped expand your understanding of our work at the RIDC in the running industry? go crazy. Go ahead and jump in that chat. Be bold. We believe in you. We empower you. Go ahead. And feel free to tell us why. We will learn from this, so you can help other people as well. We're curious.
We have about a minute left. I want to use this opportunity for any BIPOC people on the call that if you need a moment to breathe, to drink some water, to stretch, please feel free to do so, to take care of yourself as we navigate this conversation.
Thank you for contributing. That was great conversation in the chat. I'll pass it off to Kiera.
So the RDC, we became a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have dozens of people who engage with the work that we do, who have hard conversations in their workplace, at their homes, to themselves. So we know we can't do this alone. And even today, it's been great to see in the chat everyone share their own reflections of the work that they are doing and the work that they need to do. And so we wanted to acknowledge some of the companies and individuals who have supported the RIDC since the beginning, 2 short years ago. Because of the financial contributions of these companies, we were able to build a staff. We were able to host trainings, able to build our resources and content, able to have the hard conversations while knowing that this BIPOC-led organization is growing a sustainable organization. In addition to the donations, there are countless of people and groups and events who have worked with us, who have volunteered their time, who have helped raise the awareness of the organization, who have helped us face the challenges together for us to get on the same page as an industry. And so we want to take this moment to express our gratitude, to say thank you, and to say we couldn't do this without you.
Now, if you want to get engaged in the work, since this is not just for our retailers and our brands. This is for the race directors. This is for the individual taking this back to their private spaces or their workplaces. There is room for everybody to engage with our mission. Let's talk a little bit about what the RIDC is working on this year that you can be involved with. So a major reason people delay the work of DEI, which typically means never doing it, is because they say we don't know where to start. We don't have all the right things or the right places to go. So we want to empower this industry by giving you something to focus on. So we chose 2 of our goals, though we have 6 that impact everything we do. These are the 2 that all of our programming, everything we put out or work on this year, these are going to be most relevant for us. And we want the industry to hone in on these 2 goals, mostly so that we can see a greater impact from the beginning of this year until until next year. So our major points of impact for this year are all BIPOC feel welcome. That is 100% of BIPOC individuals feel welcome in your organizations, in your stores, at races, and just in the run community in general. And then 2, to increase BIPOC leadership and ownership, which spells itself out. So we have a lot going on. It takes a lot of work to achieve these goals. So we have various things that we offer. We've done something in January for Dr. Martin Luther King. We created a resource that lives on our website. We have a series going on our social media for Anchors of Black History, where we're talking about figures in the Black history of running who have done amazing things. We have that March workshop that I talked about a minute ago coming up for BIPOC women to have talk about career opportunity and advancement in the industry. We're sharing books and resources. It's a lot of stuff. So you don't have to memorize all of it. Here is how you can get engaged with us. This is where you can find out more. This is how you can ensure you won't miss a beat with the RIDC. You can, 1, sign up for our newsletter, which actually Betsy will drop a link in the chat if you feel so inspired to do so right now. If you get our newsletter, you will hear about everything we're doing, and you'll get additional content that is so useful and informative. You can also support us by going to our website and filling out our Get Involved page. This will tell you maybe where you might serve us best and also how we can serve you. You can also complete our post-event survey, which will be sent to your emails after this workshop, but we can also drop a link for that if you want to fill it out right now, because I know we all say, oh, I'll get to that, I'll do that later, and we don't. So I know you have smartphones. I know you're on a laptop because you're looking at me. I encourage you to pick at least 1, if not all 3 of these things to do right now. Yes, right now. Go ahead. I can see you, so I know you're doing it, right? No pressure, though. And if you want to stay in touch with us, or I'm sure questions came up, I'm sure more came up for you, or if you just want to talk about, how you can support us better, reach out to us. You can email us at hello@runningdiversity.com. If there's any particular team member or board member you want to be in touch with, if you reach out to that email, we will get it to that person. So it's a one size fits all for that one. And I'll pass it to Kira in case you have anything else you want to add.
How am I supposed to end with that? No. Abigail, you said it all so beautifully. I think I would just remind everyone that there was a lot of information shared with you today about the RIDC and what we're trying to accomplish together. And so as you continue on with your own action, your own self-reflection and learning, please educate, share with your network, with your family, with your friends. It takes a village to do the work that we're trying to do. And so we need everybody. I would just say we need everybody. And so thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you again soon.
And we'll leave this up here for a few minutes. If you want to screenshot it or not miss any of those links, we'll stay on this call for what do you say, Kiera? Maybe 5 more minutes?
Yeah, we somehow are within our hour. Wow. Kudos. Our workshops were 90 minutes and then we said, let's do an hour, and wow, we did it. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really, really happy to see a lot of our partner organizations on the call. Really happy to see new folks to the RIDC present. Our organization is always happy to see our BIPOC folks in this industry and the work that we're doing for all of us. Shall I play a tune?
I was about to say, Kiera, you got a song to play us out.
Ooh. Let's see. I do have a song. Wouldn't be me if I didn't play Beyonce.
You might need to position it close.
You know it. King already, you know it. Top everything, you know it. King already, you know it. My body so got a king body. Body gon' shine, bling, bling body. Calling all the shots, ring, ring body. Crown on your head, got a king body. Don't live a king, you a king, you know it. King already, you know it. Top everything, you know it. King already, you know it. Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already.
Try to stop it, me say no, no, no. Royalty say don't you, no, no, no. Try to stop it, me say go, 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 go. Bubble up and watch it go, 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 go. Be ruler, yeah. Everybody, you're the conqueror, yeah. Every king be strong.